Hey everybody, it's Ben from NLFX, and here to talk to you about the new EV RE3 UHF wireless microphone system. Now, of course, we took a look at this system back at NAMM when they launched it, but now it's out in the field and it's being used, and we have some kind of real-world feedback on it. It's a little bit more battle-tested, and by the way, it's getting great reviews. People are really loving this thing. There's a couple of really cool features about it. Certainly bang for the buck. It is another really awesome tool. A lot of great wireless systems out there to choose from, and this one is right there with those kind of mid-low price wireless systems for performance. So let's take a look at some of the things that make it great and kind of give a little walkthrough of some of the features that this system has. So first things first, we've got our receiver base here, and it does come with rack mount hardware, racks in a single space, and we're going to attach the included half-wave antennas. These are half-wave dipole antennas. You can see they're nice and big. Gives us a little bit better reception. So let's go ahead and put those on. They just use a standard BNC connection. For EV Telex fans of old, that is a change. They used to use a TNC connection, and now they've kind of got on the BNC train pretty much like everybody else. So anyway, there's that. On the back, of course, we can see we have both a balanced output connection and an unbalanced output connection. Typically, I like to just go into my mixing board's XLR preamp, of course, but you have both options. So now we're just going to go ahead and power this on, and upon doing so we get our little startup logo there, and here we can see our main display, which gives us a lot of information right at a glance. I really like that. It shows me my transmit antenna, my receive antenna, shows me my audio output level right on the front, so I know what kind of level I should be sending out to my mixing board, and it tells me here that there is no sync, meaning it does not see a transmitter, which is a good thing because we haven't synced it, so we don't want to see one just yet. And here I can see the name of the unit, and I can see the group and channel, and also for me this is really important. You know, some people really like simple, they just want to go to a group or a channel and do a quick scan, which this does, but when I'm doing complex RF environments, I'm doing everything by a numerical frequency. I'm pre-coordinating these frequencies, and so I want to know, you know, and I want to punch that frequency in. Now, the RE3 comes in 3 different available bands in the United States. It comes in a high band, which is sort of the upper 500 megahertz range. It comes in a low band, which is in the top of the 400s and lower 500s. Now, some of you might have noticed, if we take a look here, you'll see that this one is 654.150, and you might be shouting at your screen right now, hey, wait a minute, I didn't think we could use 600 anymore. And you'd be right, kinda, and also wrong. EV actually found a clever loophole in the FCC's new regulations where you can operate a system in the duplex gap between T-Mobile's uplink bands and downlink bands, but there are some restrictions to that. It can't tune outside the guard band, and it can't exceed 20 milliwatts of transmit power. So EV's got the 6M band here, which does that. Now they have their 5H and 5L bands, which operate in the high 400s and up to 500 megahertz frequencies. Now those will tune between 36 megahertz of bandwidth, which is much more than this one, and they'll also go from 10 milliwatt to 50 milliwatt. So pros and cons of each. Being in the duplex gap there, the guard band, pretty much nobody else is going to be there because it's sort of restricted airspace, but it is a very narrow band, and of course our transmit power is a little bit lower. So again, pros and cons. There are some really crowded markets in the United States where you may not find a lot of open airspace anyway, so the 6M band might be just the ticket. Anyway, for those questions, feel free to contact us and let's talk about your specific market and your specific needs. But on with the tour. So there's the information we can see right at a first glance, and we have 2 meters here as well. We have our radio strength, and then we have our audio strength. This is going to be really useful in helping us set gain structure, and it's also going to show us how good the reception is with the unit that we are receiving. Now, one of the things that's critically important in today's RF environment is we have to be able to avoid interference. We are pretty much the bottom of the food chain. We have to accept interference from everybody, and of course we don't want that. We don't want interference, so it means we have to be where it isn't. And I love this, just a single touch. We've got this scan button right here, and if I just press and release that button, it brings me right to my frequency scan menu. And from there, I can look at all groups. I can look at the result list, which is my last scan. or I can scan my current group again. So let's do that real quick. Let's just go down here, current group, and it is now scanning for open channels. And it said, okay, I found one. Do you want to go with that? Yes, I do. Sounds good. All right. That's the conversation me and the mic are having right now. Anyway, you wouldn't understand. And we got our return here. Now, I can also hold this, and it will take me right to that scan function instead of going through those menu options. So if I press and hold this, it will say, press set to start the scan, press sync to quit. So if I didn't mean to do that, I can press sync and I'm out. Otherwise, I can press scan and I'm in. And now it is scanning all new groups. So we're going through the entire scan process. You'll notice it's taking a little bit longer. And it's not just scanning within my current list. It's a little progress indicator here, 90%, and we're done. There we are. And it said, okay, we're going to go to this group and this channel, and that's where we are. Now, we still don't have a transmitter synced to this, so we're going to take our transmitter here. And by the way, I like these. They're a beefy little metal body pack here. It's pretty solid, handheld too, all metal. We're just going to look at the body pack today. I'm going to press and hold the power button to turn this on. And here I've got a little mute switch on top, so I don't have to power my transmitter off to mute my mic. Maybe I don't want my lav mic on all the time. You can just sort of imagine scenarios where you don't maybe want it on. So without having to turn this off and lose RF signal and potentially allow interfering frequencies to come in, we can simply switch this to mute. It changes to a flashing red light on top. I change it back to green and I'm good to go. So I can very quickly look down, see that my pack is green, and know that I'm giving the audio guy what he wants. Now then, we can simply sync this up by pressing the sync button here and holding this towards the IR window, and we're good. There we go. You can see my battery strength here for my transmitter. We can see that I am now live, and it has synced over the settings in this menu to this body pack. We did that maybe a little bit backwards because I haven't showed you those settings yet, but when we do, we can choose what information is synced. I wanted to show you that way just because I could show you then how very quick and easy it is to scan and sync, and you're off to the races. Out of the box, basically we're up and running. Now let's dig under the hood a little bit more and look at some of the more advanced features. So what we do here, simply press and hold the set button. That should get us into the menu. First item on the menu is scan, which we've just covered. Two different ways to get to that. Number two is frequency. I can come in here and manually tune. So again, if you're working a larger event where there's an RF coordinator, or maybe somebody like me says, hey, I want you to try this frequency. Let's just go to 655.150 and see what happens. And by the way, I just made that up, so don't just tune your system to that. We can go in there and tune that. Here again, we're at 653.150, and we'll say, okay, that's fine, we'll go with that. We can also select by group or channel. If you happen to know from a previous scan or something that, or maybe you've scanned one unit and you want to go into the same group but a different channel, which would be advisable, we can simply tune that by group and channel. Number four, this is a biggie, squelch. So what happens here is this system sends out an inaudible tone, a tone that you can't hear. Dogs and cats could. And cats can actually hear higher frequencies than dogs. I don't know, I'm sure dog lovers out there everywhere are disappointed to hear that. But if you're not a dog or a cat, you're not going to hear this inaudible tone, but the system will. And by hearing that tone, it will identify that this pack goes with this system, and it will try to avoid outside interference. Squelch works in collaboration with that. And what it does is it senses for the strength of that inaudible tone. And if the signal is not strong enough, it will mute the mic. And that's to prevent unwanted frequencies to come through. And what we can do here is we can adjust the squelch up or down to determine how low or high that threshold is. By default, it's set at 0. That's probably a pretty good place to start. By taking it down to low, you can get more range, but you get more risk of interference. And by taking it up to high, you can really clamp down on outside interference if you're in a really busy RF environment or something. But of course, your range will be reduced. So that is squelch. Next item on the list is mic configuration, and there's all kinds of goodies in here. We can change the sensitivity of my mic. Different people are going to talk at different levels. Different mic elements are going to have different pickup strength, so we can adjust this to ensure that we're not clipping the initial pack itself, or the handheld. Works the same. Number two, attenuate. That's going to put a 20 dB pad on there. Maybe if I've got this connected to a really strong signal, instrument or something perhaps. My RF power. Now we mentioned that these are either switchable between 10 milliwatt and 50 milliwatt on the L and H, or in this case, up to 20 milliwatt on the 6M band. There's an auto off feature where if you don't push a button after a while, I think the thing goes to sleep. I wouldn't use that. Key lock, if you want to keep sticky fingers off this, you could do that too. I don't use that either, but you can. Mic display, I can choose whether I want this to show group and channel or frequency, and I set that here, and when I sync it, it will propagate over. Let's just change that to frequency, and we'll do that in a second. Sync configuration, here we have check boxes to choose what we want to sync and what we don't want to sync. So frequency, sensitivity, the attenuation, and RF power, all those things include, of course, the button controls can be, and we're going to exit without saving, can be controlled whether we want to sync those things or not sync those things. And here I'm going to save my settings, and I'm going to resync. And we're good. And now we can see on the pack, it shows the frequency instead of the group and channel number. Last thing I just want to point out, now that we are synchronized, we do see this signal strength here. And of course, in this case, red is good. All the way to the top for the RF is good. But with AF, we probably want to be somewhere in here. We want to be maybe just touching the yellow. We don't want to go any higher than that. We want to leave room for those transients, but we want it nice and high to avoid any inherent noise in the system. There's the quick overview of the RE3 system. This one is a body pack with a lav, comes in a nice little leather case. If you want to see what the handheld looks like, feel free to go back and look at that initial video from NAMM. Of course, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We are clearly nerds and we love this stuff and we'd love to help you. We know some of you are RF nerds too and you really like this detailed information, and some of you, you just want it to work, and we get that too. So we're here to help you. Feel free to contact us with questions about frequencies for your area, settings for your system, that sort of thing. Of course, we can save you some money on them too. So we'd love to sell you 1 or 2 or 600 of these, whatever you need. And lastly, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say, please subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching.